Ladies, let me ask you something right now. You ever been with a man and you feel like you doing all the work? You calling, you texting, you cooking, you buying little gifts, checking on his mama, and still he acting like he doing you a favor just by breathing the same air. See, I know what that's like. I've seen it 1,000 times. And let me tell you, baby, it ain't because you ain't pretty. It ain't because you ain't smart. It ain't even because he got somebody else. No. It's because you don't understand the power of silence. See, men are simple creatures. We are hunters by nature. When something is too easy, when there's no mystery, when we don't have to work for it, we lose interest fast. Like old French phrase, fast. But when you understand the rules of silence, oh, baby, that's when the game changes. That's when a man starts blowing up your phone, checking your Instagram like a detective, wondering who you out with, what you doing, and why you ain't texted him back yet. And tonight, I'm going to teach you the 6 silence rules that'll make any man. The good ones, the ones worth keeping. Stand up, step up, and never want to let you go. This ain't about playing games. This ain't about manipulation. This is about power. About knowing your worth, valuing your time, and understanding the psychology of how men love. So buckle up, grab your notebooks, and listen close. Because by the time I'm done with you tonight, you're going to be the woman every man wishes he never met, and the one he'll do anything to keep. Rule 51Z, the power of mystery, ladies. Let me tell you something right now. If you want a man to be hooked, if you want him sitting at home staring at his phone like it's going to give him answers, you have got to master the art of mystery. Now, I know some of y'all think being transparent is the key. You think that if you tell him everything up front, your childhood story, your ex-drama, your favorite color, your grandma's pound cake recipe, he's going to think, wow, she's so open and honest. No, baby. What he's really thinking is, dang, I just got the whole movie on the first date. What's left to find out? See, men are wired to chase. That's in our DNA. When something is unknown, when there's a little puzzle we can't figure out, it drives us crazy. That's why we love sports. That's why we gamble. That's why we play video games for hours. We want to conquer. We want to figure it out. And when you hand a man the entire blueprint of who you are in the first week, you just killed the game before it even started. You got to understand, mystery is not about lying. It's about pacing. It's about holding back just enough so he keeps coming around, keeps asking questions, keeps making an effort to understand you. Think about the women who stay in men's minds for years. They're not the ones who spilled every secret by dessert. They're the ones who gave him just enough to wonder, just enough to make him call his boys like, I don't know what it is about her, but I got to know more. Let me tell you a story. One of my partners, successful dude, had money, had options, met this woman at a charity event. She was beautiful, but not just that. She was composed, confident, and she didn't give him everything. She didn't even give him her number that night. Just said, maybe I'll see you around. Man, that boy chased her for 3 months, planned dinners, sent flowers, rearranged his schedule, all just to get a little more of her time. You know why? Because she understood the power of mystery. She let him work. She let him wonder. And to this day, they're still together. Why? Because she never stopped being intriguing. She never stopped having layers for him to uncover. See, the problem with a lot of y'all is you think if you don't share everything right away, he'll lose interest. No, baby. It's the opposite. If you give it all away up front, there's nothing left for him to earn. Men value what they have to work for. That's not my opinion. That's how we're built. If a man doesn't have to put in effort, he won't respect the reward. Mystery also sets the tone. It tells him you have standards. It tells him you don't just let anybody know your whole life story. That alone commands respect. And let me tell you, respect is the foundation of desire. When a man respects you, he listens. He shows up, he adjusts, he fights for a spot in your life because he knows not everybody gets access to you. So stop thinking you got to over-explain, overshare, or over-prove yourself to a man. The right man, the one who's serious, who's ready, who sees your worth. He will lean into that mystery and rise to the occasion. He will put in the effort to peel back the layers. And every time he uncovers something new, every time he earns another piece of you, that bond gets deeper. That's the power of mystery, baby. It's not a game. It's strategy. And if you do it right, you won't just have his attention. You'll have his respect, his effort, and his loyalty too. Rule of A, two-way silence is a test, ladies. Listen to me carefully. Your silence is not rudeness. It's not you playing games. Your silence is a test, and if you learn how to use it right, it will show you everything you need to know about a man before you waste your time, your heart, or your good years on the wrong one. Here's the thing about men. We show you who we are and how we act when you're not giving us everything. When you stop talking, when you stop chasing, when you just lean back and let that phone sit on the table instead of blowing it up every 5 minutes, you get to see what a man is really about. You ever notice how when you pull back, the wrong dude disappears like smoke? That's because he was never in it for the long haul. He just wanted attention, validation, or entertainment. But a real man, when you go quiet, when you stop making all the effort, he steps up. He calls, he plans. He puts in the work to show you that he wants you, not just when it's convenient for him, but because you matter to him. See, silence is not a punishment, it's information. And it's free too. You don't need to argue with a man to know where you stand. You don't need to chase him to figure out if he's serious. Just stop talking and watch what he does. A man who's truly interested will not be confused by your silence. He will be consistent. He will reach out. He will pursue you because men go after what they value. I'll tell you something I tell my daughters. If you have to remind a man you exist, that's your answer right there. If he can go days, weeks without checking in, without calling, without wanting to see you, you don't need a confrontation, baby. You need to let him go because silence brought you the truth faster than words ever could. Let me give you an example. One of my nieces was dating this guy, real smooth talker. He'd blow her phone up every night, texting her paragraphs, good morning, good night, all of it. She started feeling like maybe this was the one. I told her, stop texting him first for a week. Just go quiet and see what he does. You know what happened? Day 1, nothing. Day 2, nothing. By day 5, silence. That man vanished. She called me crying. Uncle Steve, what happened? Baby, what happened is you gave him the quiet space to show his true intentions. And guess what? He failed the test. But I've seen it go the other way too. I've seen men who, the minute you stop putting in all the effort, start moving mountains to keep you in their lives. That's the kind of man you want. Not the one you have to beg, but the one who sees your silence and says, oh no, she's special. I need to show up for her. And let me tell you something important. Silence isn't just about testing him. It's about protecting you. It gives you the space to watch, to observe, and to decide without being clouded by sweet talk or empty promises. Because a man can tell you anything, but his actions in your silence will never lie. So when you're tempted to over-explain, to fill the quiet with your words, remember this: a man who is truly for you will not be scared off by your silence. He'll respect it, and he'll prove himself through his actions. But the ones who disappear, baby, consider that silence the blessing that saved you from wasting one more second on somebody who wasn't meant for you. Rule Faith 3, control the pace. Ladies, let me tell you something that'll change your whole dating game. You have to control the pace. Not him, not his charm, not his sweet words, not that smooth talk that sounds like it came out of an R&B song from the 90s, you. Because when you set the tempo, you set the tone. And when you set the tone, you decide how this man shows up for you. See, men are hunters. That's not an opinion. That's biology. We love the chase, the pursuit, the challenge. But here's the thing. If you hand over everything too fast, if you clear your calendar every time he calls, if you answer every text before the bubbles, even stop dancing on the screen, you are teaching him that you'll always be there. No urgency, no effort, no chase. And when a man doesn't have to chase ladies, his interest will start fading faster than a Snapchat story. Slowing down the pace is not about playing games. It's about setting boundaries and making sure a man earns his place in your life. Let him show you he's serious. Let him prove through his consistency, not just his words, that he wants to be there. When you answer every call, every text, what you doing, with a quick response, you're telling him that you're available at all times. But when you take a little time, not days, but enough time to let him wonder, to let him think, that man will lean in. He'll try harder. He'll put in the extra effort because he knows he's got something valuable on his hands. Let me tell you about a friend of mine. Gorgeous girl, smart, driven, but she used to jump into relationships full speed ahead. First week, she's cooking for him, planning vacations, meeting the family, posting pictures like they were already married. And every time the same thing happened, 2 months in, he'd start pulling back, acting distant, like she'd become routine. I told her, baby, you gotta slow down. Let him earn it. So next time, she took her time. She didn't answer every call right away. She didn't cancel her plans to see him last minute. She kept her rhythm steady, made him work for every step. And you know what? That man chased her like she was the last ticket to the Super Bowl. Why? Because she controlled the pace. You see, controlling the pace is also about protecting yourself. When you slow down, you get the chance to really see who this man is. Is he consistent, or is he just consistent until he gets what he wants? Does he respect your time, or does he only care about his own schedule? Silence and space reveal the truth faster than any question ever will. And let me be real with you. Men actually respect women who make them wait, not in a manipulative way, but in a way that says, I know my value, and you're going to have to show me you know it too. That's when he brings his best self forward. That's when he plans real dates instead of hitting you with the come through and chill text at 10 p.m. That's when he starts showing you consistency, not just chemistry. So don't be afraid to pump the brakes. If he's the right man, he's not going anywhere. In fact, slowing things down will make him lean in even more. Because when you control the pace, you're not just protecting your heart. You're building a foundation where his effort, not your availability, drives the relationship forward. Rule Q4 and listen more than you talk, ladies. I'm about to give you one of the most powerful secrets you'll ever hear. And it's so simple it'll shock you. Listen more than you talk. Now, I know what you're thinking. Steve, I'm a good communicator. I express myself. And that's fine, baby. But communication is a two-way street, and a whole lot of y'all are out here driving in the wrong lane. Because while you're busy talking, explaining, and oversharing, that man is telling you exactly who he is. And you're missing it because you won't stop talking long enough to hear him. See, men will reveal themselves if you just let them. A man will tell you his goals, his intentions, his habits, his values, and sometimes even his red flags if you give him the space to speak. But what happens most of the time? You meet a man, you're excited. You start spilling everything, your childhood, your heartbreaks, your 5-year plan, what you like, what you don't like, what your toxic ex did. And while you're unloading all of that, you forget to actually listen to the man in front of you. Listening isn't just about hearing words, it's about observing patterns. You can learn more about a man in the quiet moments, how he treats the waiter, how he talks about his family, how he responds when he's stressed, than you ever will from asking 100 questions. A man will always tell on himself through his actions, but you got to be quiet long enough to catch it. Let me tell you about my niece, sweet girl, heart of gold. She was dating this dude who seemed perfect on paper. Every time she'd call me, she'd go on and on about how nice he was, how he opened doors, how he said all the right things. I told her, baby, stop talking and just listen. Let him talk. Let him show you who he really is. And you know what happened? 2 weeks later, she called me crying. Turns out he didn't want kids, didn't believe in marriage, and had no interest in a serious commitment. I said, sweetheart, he didn't just tell you that yesterday. He's been saying it. You were just too busy talking to hear it. Here's the truth. When you talk less and listen more, you protect your heart. You stop building fantasies in your mind and start seeing reality for what it is. And this isn't just about dating. It's about relationships too. When you listen to a man, you'll know how to love him better. You'll understand what makes him happy, what stresses him out, what motivates him, what scares him. Men aren't complicated, ladies. We're actually simple. We drop hints all the time. We just don't always spell it out. And here's the kicker. When you listen more, you become more valuable. You become that safe space, that woman who understands him without him having to shout it from the rooftops. And trust me, a man will protect and cherish a woman who truly listens because she makes him feel seen and understood in a world that rarely gives men that space. But don't confuse listening with tolerating nonsense. Listening is about gathering information, not ignoring red flags. If he says he's not looking for commitment, believe him. If he says he's focused on his career and doesn't have time for a relationship, believe him. Too many women hear what they want to hear instead of what's actually being said. Your ears will save you from heartache if you just use them. So slow down, lean back, and observe. Pay attention to his words, his tone, his actions, his consistency. Because when you listen more than you talk, you give yourself the gift of clarity. And clarity is what keeps you from wasting your time on the wrong man while making space for the right one. Rule Hey 5E, value creates value, ladies. Let me tell you something real simple but real deep. Value creates value. You set the price for how a man treats you. I don't care what anybody else told you. You teach people how to treat you by the standards you set and the energy you carry. And if you don't value yourself, if you're walking around acting like you're on the clearance rack, baby, don't be surprised when somebody tries to walk out the store with you for free. See, men don't determine your worth. You do. A man will treat you at the level you treat yourself. If you act like you're priceless, if you know you're the prize, if you carry yourself like the kind of woman who deserves respect, commitment, and effort, then guess what? That man will either rise to meet your standard or get out the way for somebody who will. But if you lower your value, if you settle for breadcrumbs, if you keep making excuses for lazy behavior, you're telling that man that he doesn't have to show up for you. And believe me, men are going to do whatever you allow. Value is not just about looks or money or status. It's about the way you carry yourself. It's how you walk into a room without saying a word and people know you're not somebody to be played with. It's how you hold your head high even when you're single, even when you're waiting, even when you're healing. That confidence, that self-respect, that quiet strength, that's what makes a man stop in his tracks. Because men respect women who respect themselves. I had a friend, beautiful woman, but every time she got into a relationship, she gave all her power away. She'd rearrange her whole life for a man, stop hanging with her friends, neglect her dreams, answer his texts in 2 seconds flat, and then cry when he didn't value her. I told her, baby, you're teaching him that your world revolves around him. Why would he work for something he already owns? The next time she met someone, she set boundaries, kept her schedule, made him work for her time. And you know what happened? That man showed up, consistent, intentional, and ready to give her everything she deserved. Because when you create value, a man who recognizes it will do whatever it takes to match it. And here's the truth, value doesn't mean being cold, rude, or playing games. It means knowing what you bring to the table and refusing to discount yourself for anyone. It's about having standards, but also backing those standards up with action. Don't just say you want respect. Demand it by the way you carry yourself and what you allow in your space. When you value yourself, silence becomes your power. You don't argue with a man who can't see your worth. You just remove yourself from the table and let him figure out what he lost. You don't beg for consistency. You make room for a man who's ready to give it. And you definitely don't chase anybody because you know the right man will recognize your value and step up without hesitation. Men love a woman who knows her worth. They may not admit it out loud, but they'll respect it every time. Because a woman who values herself makes a man want to rise to be better, to match her energy, and if he's not willing to, then he's not your man, baby. So remember this, you're not just valuable, you're rare. And when you show up in the world like you know that, you won't have to demand respect or love. It'll come naturally because value creates value, and a woman who knows her worth will always attract someone who knows it too. Rule phase 6E, make him miss you, ladies. Let me break it down for you plain and simple. If you want a man to stay hooked, to stay invested, to keep showing up, you have to learn the art of making him miss you. Now, don't get me wrong, I ain't talking about ghosting him, playing childish games, or disappearing for 3 weeks to teach him a lesson. No, baby, I'm talking about creating healthy space, the kind of space that builds longing, respect, and real desire. See, men, we're wired to appreciate what we can't have all the time. That's why the moment you're always there, always available, always answering on the first ring, a man starts to take that for granted. Not because he's evil, but because that's how we're built. When you're too available, there's no room for him to think about you, to wonder what you're doing, to look forward to seeing you again. But when you create just the right amount of space, oh baby, that man will move mountains just to get your attention. Think about it. Why do people line up for hours outside a store when there's a limited edition sneaker dropping? It's the same shoe, but scarcity makes it valuable. And you, queen, are the limited edition. When you stop being everywhere, when you stop dropping everything the second he calls, you remind him that your time is a privilege, not a guarantee. I remember this one woman my buddy was dating, classy, smart, and calm. She liked him, no doubt, but she had her own life. She had friends, hobbies, goals. She wasn't texting him all day or answering his calls during meetings. And you know what happened? That man fell hard. He told me, Steve, I can't stop thinking about her. She's got me checking my phone like a teenager. Why? Because she let him miss her. She gave him the space to feel her absence. And that absence made him value her presence even more. Creating that space doesn't mean ignoring him or acting cold. It just means you keep your life full and balanced. Keep seeing your friends. Keep working on your dreams. Keep doing what makes you happy. When a man sees that you're not just sitting around waiting for him, he understands that he has to earn your time. That kind of energy makes a man respect you and want you even more. And let me tell you something about men. We're visual, but we're also emotional. When you're not right there in front of us, we start thinking, where is she? What's she doing? Who's making her laugh right now? That curiosity builds desire. And when he finally sees you or talks to you again, the energy is electric because that time apart made him appreciate the time together. But here's where a lot of women mess up. They confuse being present with being clingy. If you're constantly texting, calling, checking in, posting every detail of your life, there's no mystery, no excitement, nothing left for him to discover. Give him just enough access to know you're interested, but not so much that there's nothing left to miss. Men chase what they fear losing. It's not about manipulation, it's about balance. When you hold on to your independence, when you keep your world full and vibrant, you remind him that you're the prize. And believe me, when a man truly sees you as the prize, he will do whatever it takes to make sure he doesn't lose you. So give him that room. Let him miss you. Let him realize that your time, your energy, your presence, it's not just handed out freely, it's earned. And when he feels that distance, when he feels that little ache of missing you, that's when you'll see a man put in real effort, not because you demanded it, but because he wants to. The final word be the prize. Ladies, let me leave you with this right here. Everything we talked about tonight, every single rule, it all comes down to one thing: knowing your worth and standing in it. Silence ain't weakness. Mystery ain't a game, controlling the pace, listening more, creating value, letting him miss you. None of that is about manipulation. It's about stepping into your power as a woman and setting the tone for how you will be treated. You want a man addicted to you. Then stop trying to convince him you're worthy. Stop talking your way into his heart. Stop over-delivering and under-receiving. The right man, the one God designed for you, won't need a sales pitch. He will see you, he will respect you, and he will move mountains to keep you. And let me tell you something. When you start applying these silence rules, when you start walking in confidence and peace, your whole energy shifts. You'll stop chasing attention, and you'll start attracting commitment. You'll stop settling for crumbs, and you'll start sitting at the table you built, eating the meal you deserve. So the next time you feel like you need to speak up just to be heard, remember this: sometimes the loudest statement you can make is your silence. Sometimes the greatest power you have is to just sit back, observe, and let him show you who he is. Know your worth, guard your energy, and never ever forget the prize don't chase. The prize lets itself be pursued. Now go out there, baby, and let your silence do the talking.